Amina sat alone on the bench by the hospital, staring blankly at the empty road in front of her. She couldn't stop the tears that rolled down her face. Nana, her fiancé, had passed away just hours earlier in a car accident. They had been planning their wedding for months. Now, she was left with nothing but broken dreams and a heart that felt like it had been shattered into a million pieces. Her hands trembled as she held his bag, which the nurse had given her. Inside, she found his wallet, some loose coins, a faded photograph of them, and a small leather-bound journal. She didn't remember him mentioning a journal, and she hesitated, unsure if she should open it. But grief and curiosity pulled her forward, so she opened the first page. The words she read made her heart race. It wasn't just a diary. It was filled with things she never knew about him. The words felt strange, almost as if he were talking directly to her from beyond the grave. He had written about his fears, his struggles, and something about a secret that he was planning to reveal to her on their wedding day. But what could he have been hiding? That night, Amina barely slept. She felt a deep sense of dread but also a strong need to uncover whatever Nana had kept from her. So, she began reading each page carefully, unraveling pieces of his life that seemed unfamiliar. He had spoken about someone named Mof, a person she had never heard him mention, and a place called Ikate. Amina was desperate to know more. She traveled to Ikate the next morning, a quiet village on the outskirts of Lagos. The people there looked at her curiously, whispering as she passed. She walked to a local store and asked about Mof, but no one knew anything. Frustrated and confused, she was about to leave when an old woman called her over. "You're looking for Mof?" the woman asked, her voice low and wary. Amina nodded, her heart pounding. The woman led her to a small house at the edge of the village. She knocked on the door, and a man in his late 20s opened it. His eyes widened when he saw Amina. "You're Amina?" he asked, his voice tense. Amina nodded, wondering how he knew her name. "Mof was Nana's best friend," the man explained. He left something for you." Mof handed her a letter with trembling hands. As she opened it, she could feel Nana's presence, as though he were right beside her, guiding her through this mystery. The letter talked about a deal he had made, something he had never told her. It mentioned a sum of money, hidden somewhere, and how it was supposed to secure their future. But it wasn't that simple. Amina soon learned that the money was entangled with a dangerous man named Benga, someone powerful and ruthless. Her heart sank as she realized that Nana had been involved in something that could ruin her life too. She returned to Lagos, the journal and letter clutched tightly in her hands, determined to find out the truth. She couldn't shake the feeling that Nana's death hadn't been an accident after all. As dawn broke over Lagos, the sunlight filtered through Amina's apartment window, casting warm rays across the cluttered table where Nana's journal lay open. Amina stared at the pages, feeling both comforted and haunted by the words written in Nana's hand. She knew she had to act quickly. Benga was not the type to give up easily, and every moment spent waiting could be a moment lost. "Do you think Tola will really have information that could help us?" Mof asked, breaking her concentration. "I have to believe she will." Nana trusted her, and she might have known about his plan to take down Benga, Amina replied. Her voice steady despite the storm of emotions swirling inside her. "We need to be smart about this." After a quick breakfast, they decided to split up. Amina would check out potential leads on Tola's whereabouts while Mof contacted some of Nana's old friends for any additional information. They agreed to meet later at a safe location to share their findings. Amina headed to a nearby cafe where Nana used to meet Tola. The place buzzed with chatter and the aroma of coffee, but Amina felt out of place. She scanned the crowd, hoping to see a familiar face, but her heart sank as she realized she might be chasing shadows. "Can I help you?" a waitress asked, noticing Amina's anxious demeanor. "Yes, I'm looking for Tola. Do you know her?" Amina replied, trying to keep her voice calm. The waitress paused, her brow furrowing. "Tola? I haven't seen her in a while. She used to come here often with a guy who was, well, a bit rough around the edges." Amina felt a chill run down her spine. Benga. Do you know where she lives? She asked, heart racing. I think she moved to a different neighborhood a few months ago. I can look it up for you, the waitress offered. After receiving the new address, Amina hurriedly left the cafe, her heart pounding with a mix of hope and fear. As she made her way to Tola's new place, the streets felt like a maze, each turn twisting her stomach tighter with anxiety. The thought of encountering Benga haunted her, but she pushed forward. When she finally arrived at the address, she found a modest apartment building tucked away from the main road. Taking a deep breath, she approached the door and knocked. A moment later, a woman in her late 20s, with dark curly hair and a worried expression, answered. Tola? Amina asked, feeling a surge of relief at the sight of her. Yes, that's me. Who are you? Tola replied, her eyes narrowing in suspicion. I'm Amina, Nana's fiancé. I need to talk to you about him, Amina said, urgency lacing her voice. Tola's expression shifted from suspicion to surprise. Nana, thought. I heard about his accident. I'm so sorry. She stepped aside, allowing Amina to enter. As they settled on the worn-out couch, Amina wasted no time. I need to know everything you can tell me about Nana and his plans regarding Benga. I found something he left behind, and I believe it connects to what he was trying to do. Tola looked hesitant, but Amina's intensity seemed to break through her walls. Nana was a good man. He wanted to expose Benga's operations. He believed that if he gathered enough evidence, he could bring him down. Did he ever mention where he kept this evidence? Amina pressed, her heart racing with hope. Yes, he did, Tola replied, her voice trembling. But it's dangerous, Amina. Benga has people watching. If he finds out that you're looking for it, he won't hesitate to come after you. I understand the risks, but I can't stop now. Nana sacrificed so much for this. I owe it to him to see it through, Amina said, determination burning in her chest. Tola nodded slowly, seeming to weigh her options. "'Kay." Nana mentioned a place, a warehouse on the outskirts of Lagos. He said it was where he kept the documents, but you need to be careful. Benga's men are everywhere. Amina felt a surge of hope. Can you help me get there? I can't do this alone. I'll help you, but we have to be smart. If Benga finds out, he won't just come after you. He'll come after everyone who's been in contact with Nana, Tola warned. With a plan in mind, they agreed to leave immediately. Tola gathered her things and they headed out, both women filled with a mix of anxiety and determination. As they drove toward the warehouse, Amina's mind raced with possibilities. Would they find the evidence they needed? What if Benga was already waiting for them? The sun was setting when they arrived at the warehouse, a sprawling building surrounded by tall fences and overgrown bushes. Amina felt a knot tighten in her stomach as she looked at the place that could hold the key to her future and the truth about Nana's death. Are you ready? Tola asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Amina took a deep breath, nodding. Let's do this. They approached the warehouse cautiously, each step echoing in the quiet evening air. As they reached the door, Amina's heart raced. The handle was cold in her palm as she turned it, the door creaking open to reveal a dimly lit interior. Inside, the air was stale, and dust danced in the beams of fading light. Boxes were stacked high, and shadows loomed in every corner. They moved stealthily, whispering about where Nana might have hidden the documents. As they searched, Tola suddenly froze. Did you hear that? She whispered, her eyes wide. Amina strained her ears, and the sound of footsteps echoed from somewhere deeper in the warehouse. Panic surged through her. Benga's men were here. Quick! We need to hide, Amina hissed, leading Tola to a large stack of crates. They squeezed behind them, hearts pounding in their chests, waiting to see who was approaching. Two men entered, speaking in low tones. We need to find that evidence before anyone else does. Benga is not going to be happy if we let it slip through our fingers, one of them said, his voice laced with menace. Amina's breath hitched in her throat. They were talking about the evidence Nana had been gathering. If they didn't act fast, they would lose everything. "Okay, we have to be quick. Once they leave, we can look for it," Tola whispered, her hands trembling. As they waited, Amina's mind raced. Nana had put his life on the line to expose Benga, and now she was standing in the very place that could hold his legacy. She had to find the documents before it was too late. Just then, one of the men turned, glancing in their direction. "Did you hear that?" he asked, stepping closer. Amina's heart raced as she and Tola held their breath, praying they wouldn't be discovered. Would they be forced to run again, or worse, confront Benga's men head-on? The man's footsteps echoed closer, and Amina could feel the tension in the air. This was a moment that could change everything. The seconds felt like hours, and just as the man was about to reach their hiding spot, Amina whispered urgently to Tola, "We have to go now." 3. They bolted from their hiding place, adrenaline pumping through their veins. Amina could hear the men shout in surprise, but she didn't look back. They raced deeper into the warehouse, dodging boxes and crates, desperate to find the evidence before they were caught. "Where do we go?" Tola shouted, her voice full of panic.